Hey, what's up? Hello, this is Auntie Cubana coming back at you with another episode of the Unladylike Lounge podcast. And today I am joined by Nico. Nico, hey, how are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I am very well. Thank you so much for asking. Now, this episode, as I was saying before, I have gotten a lot of flack for because I built my brand on women's empowerment, but I feel like this is so necessary. So why don't you go ahead, take a minute, brag on yourself, and tell us about kind of what we'll be talking about and what makes you an expert in that conversation.
What are we going to be talking about? Stuff that tends to piss people off. This is what we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
We're going to talk how men are better than women. And yeah, that's not true at all. Let's start on the right. Let's start the right way and start pissing people off right off the bat. But seriously, we're going to talk about masculinity, about how men needs to embrace masculinity, and that being masculine enables women to be feminine.
Yes.
We It's not a competition. On the contrary, we were meant to complement each other.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, we forgot. And that's both men and women. Like, as much as a lot of men in the men movement, if we can call it that, tend to blame women for a lot of the problems that we have,
Yep.
we're responsible too. It's a 50-50 deal, and men
Absolutely.
are as responsible as women are. So that's what I do. That's what I talk about on a daily basis. I just try to make people realize that a man being masculine doesn't take anything away from women. On the contrary, I read a quote the other day that was saying that men do not protect women because they are weak. We protect women because they're important, because they
Yes.
because they matter to us. So
Absolutely.
this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about why men want to take care of women.
Awesome. Awesome. I absolutely love it. Thank you for joining us in our ever so controversial podcast and being willing to share your expertise on this subject. One thing that I kind of want to open the conversation with, we'll just start off with the heavy hits, is men's mental health and
Mm.
how important it is to create a safe space for them to be vulnerable, to be expressive, to have these open conversations. I was just reading some statistics that talk about, one in, hold on, let me not quote the wrong thing. 1 in 10 men experience depression or anxiety, but less than half will receive treatment. What is the stigma, and what can we do as a community, men and women, to create a safe environment for men to open up about their struggles?
You can't. It's not up to women to do that.
Okay.
Because let's take it this way: you're saying 1 out of 10 women in their 20s are twice as much likely to be depressed than men, and 4 times more if they have no children by the time they're 30.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it's not, men are not the one that are depressed. Women are.
Okay.
So and I'm just saying this, if we're going to talk about depression plus
Mhm.
the you want to be heavy, you want to hit heavy from the beginning. Let's make sure we do. I don't believe in depression. I don't believe men are ever
Okay.
depressed. And what I mean by this is, men are not depressed, they lack purpose. Men are meant to serve. Men are meant to have something to do. And is there something worse than not knowing what you were meant to do, why you were put on this earth? And think about it this way:
Mhm.
have you ever met a guy that had purpose that was depressed?
I can't say that I have.
And the same way, if you take the complete opposite, have you ever met a guy that had purpose that was a man that was depressed that had purpose? It doesn't happen,
Right.
because that's what men need. Men need a reason to live. Like, just very simple example. Like, we've been traveling the US for 14 months, my girlfriend and I, and we're right now in Alabama, Athens, Alabama, and the guy in the RV right next to us is a widower. His wife died a few years back, and he's probably end of his 60s, still working. Not because he doesn't have to work. He has enough money not having to work, but he works because he needs something to do. He
Okay.
needs purpose, and that's what brings significance to his life. He's a trucker, and in his head, transporting material, transporting goods that everyday people will use, is something that he finds pride into.
Right.
But women are not like that.
Okay.
It's a complete, and it's nothing wrong. Like, I'm not saying this like as in men are better or worse. It's just it is the way it is. Like we tend to forget that there are gender roles. There are things men do better than women, and vice versa. Like, one of the best example I can give you is, let let me put it this way: women like things. Sorry, men like things. Women like people.
I like the way you put that.
Because look at the statistics that comes out of University of Ottawa, which is the biggest university in Canada. They look at engineering, which is, I was a sales engineer by trade, so I've been a sales engineer for 12 years prior to me quitting my corporate job and starting my own business. But all to say is, minimum 90% of the people I've ever worked with that were engineers were men. If you look at the studies and the statistics, they show that more than 90% of engineers are men, which to
Okay.
me makes completely sense, because being an engineer is extremely logical. You find you find solutions to problems. You fix it in a way that's extremely logical. You need
Yes.
to find a plan to fix an existing problem. It's, for a man, that's heaven right there, because there's a problem. What's the solution? Let's find it. There's no emotions attached to it. It's really just logical. So
Mhm.
they say that 90%, more than 90% of engineers right now studying or to become engineers are men. Now,
Okay.
you look at a completely different field, where medicine. At the university right now, if you look in America, 86.6% of nurses are women. But
Wow.
what they're starting to show is 70% of people in medicine right now are women. And I'm ready to bet that 20 years from now, it's going to be the equivalent of what we see in engineering, except it's going to be the complete opposite. Women will be 90% of the people studying medicine, and I'm not just talking nurses. I'm talking doctors. I'm talking the whole field, right? And
Okay.
when you think about it, it makes sense. Women are are more kind. They're more compassionate. They care more. That's
Absolutely.
just the way that you guys are. Women in general want to take care of something.
Yes.
And as somebody that used to fight, as somebody that's had a lot of injuries, I've had a lot of surgery done. I would much rather a woman doctor than a dude. If I
Yes.
was a doctor, you come to my office and your arm's broken, I'm gonna smack you in the back of the head and call you a little woman. Like, okay, stop being a little girl. Go, go. Let's wrap it up. Go. But that's not necessarily the best way to deal with somebody that's in pain, right? And
Facts.
and when you think about it, it makes sense. Only women can give birth. So wouldn't it make sense that they're more compassionate? Wouldn't it make sense that they care more? Of course it does. Like, I say this as a joke to the guys I do podcasts with. I'm like, can you imagine for a second having a baby in your stomach for 9 months, and when it came out, to still love it, not wanting to kill it? And every single man I've ever said that joke to, they're laughing, because
Yeah.
we all know deep down we would not be happy, not happy at all. But yet, look at a woman.
Right.
She'll come to describe that as the best experience of her life. Why? Because she was meant to.
Yes. Yes.
You guys have all this. You have all the natural abilities to be mothers. We have all the abilities to be protectors and providers. We're
Okay.
bigger, we're stronger, we're faster. Deep down, we want to take care. Like I was saying, we need purpose. And most of the purpose that a man needs is just to care, similar to what women do, but we care to, you mentioned the word safe space earlier.
Mhm.
There's only one place that safe spaces really exist: at home.
Yes.
Because once you cross that front door and you're in the real world, it ain't fairies and unicorn. The world is harsh, it sucks. It's going to kick you to your knees and keep you there if you let it.
Ooh, I
But
know that's right.
but at home, it is the job of a man to make sure that that space is secure. Look at society. Take society, for example. It was built by men.
Okay.
If you look at all the job, more than 95% of the 20 most dangerous jobs in the world are done by men. Why? Not because women can't do them. Women can. They just don't want to. But
Absolutely.
men, we will, because they're a high risk, high reward. There's more money to be made. How many guys that I've met through my life that worked in the oil fields? They didn't like it, but it paid well. What did they do with the money? They shipped it back to the family so that the wife and the kids can be comfortable. So
Yes.
they will work 20, 25 days out of 30 days. They will work 3 weeks straight, get a few days off afterwards to go see their family. Why? Not because they like it, just because they know that's their job. And
Absolutely.
studies will show you that in order for a woman to be a great mother, she needs to feel secure.
Mm.
If she has to worry about security, that means she's not concentrating on raising her children the way they should be raised.
Yes.
Men are not responsible for providing emotional intelligence. This is something that women do. This is
Okay.
something that mothers provide to their children. Can men be emotional with their children? Absolutely. You were saying at the beginning, men in depression. Men are supposed to be in control of their emotions.
Okay.
Men are supposed to control them, or else if you don't control your emotions, that means your emotions control you. Like, let me put it this way. Would you be with an extremely emotional guy? Is that attractive to you, to have a guy that's acting like a woman? And I'm talking about energies here. Like, because you can look at a gay couple, like two women or two guys, and it's still the same. There's always one that's
Yes.
more masculine, one that's more feminine. But can you
Yes.
imagine being with a man that's as emotional as you?
I could not handle it. I have not handled it in the past when it's come across my way.
Mhm.
And I completely see what you're saying, because I know my emotional capabilities and where that can lead and how that can affect
Mhm.
any and everything. So it's like I need that yin to my yang to kind of balance things out.
Pow. That's exactly it. So a man being stoic, which means being in control of his emotion, knowing when, that doesn't mean that he's not emotional.
Right.
The way I explain it is like this. A man is a woman's rock, while a woman is a man's weakness.
Okay.
So we need to be rocks so that our women can be emotional. And we are supposed to be emotional with our women to be able to create that emotional bond with them.
Yes. Yes. I absolutely love how you put that, because I feel like too many people, as we were discussing before we started, too many people see, the different gender roles, especially in our day and age. Too many people see the gender roles and the emotional side of gender roles to be dated, when
Mhm.
it's, as you stated, it's just facts. If you look at, not to compare people to animals or anything, but you even see in the animal kingdom
Yep.
that the males want to be protectors, providers, and the women are, I understand why people are like, this isn't the 50s, but we have to look at facts and what's laid out before us. You can't deny it at all.
And just the situation in which couples find themselves nowadays. You
Yeah.
can see it, the statistics are there. There's
Exactly.
something extremely, extremely wrong with the way our relationships are right now. And let's take you for example. You said it yourself that you wouldn't deal with somebody that's emotional as you.
Right.
You know why?
Why?
Because he's gonna force you in the masculine role.
Thank you. Thank you. I
But this is what happens. It's all based on energy. It's just that the average man is manly, the average woman is feminine. This is the way we were meant. Does that mean that there's not more feminine men or more masculine women? Absolutely. But
right.
let's look at what happened normally. A very masculine woman will end up with a feminine man.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the dynamic that they have. But you
Right.
need to have those two extremes. You know,
Yes.
we're always saying that men and women are equal. Men and women are not equal,
At all.
because equality means the same. Should we have the same rights in the face of the law? Absolutely.
Right.
Men and women, when it comes to the law, should be the same. But everything else is not. My
Absolutely.
girlfriend is 110 pounds soaking wet. I'm 210 pounds. Do you honestly think that physically we're comparable? Hell no. I pick her up.
Never know.
I pick her up by one hand and I do whatever I want with her. There's nothing special about it.
Facts.
So does that make sense that that my girlfriend expects me to protect her? It's not she wants me to protect her. She expects me to take a bullet for her. And I would.
Right.
There's no question that this is not. I sleep close to the door. Why? Because if somebody comes in, I'm the first one to be able to protect. I can put myself in harm's way.
Absolutely.
And as much as women today say that they don't need men, this is the fallacy of what we live in today. Women say they're being treated, they're being told from a young age that they don't need men. That's by both the woman and the father. And what's amazing about this is, who do they call when they're in trouble? A man. A man with a gun most of the time. When the house is on fire, who do they call? A fireman. Who are firemen? Men. Who fixes cars? Men. Who fixes your house? Men. Who makes sure that your garbage is picked up? Men. Who fixes the road to make sure you can get to work? Men.
Yep.
If I'm not, and this is the worst part, and this is what blows my mind. All those jobs can be done by women.
Absolutely.
But they choose not to. Those are not the fields. Look at teachers. Just under 80% of teachers are women. Does that mean that men can be teachers? No, it has nothing to do with that. It's just that naturally, women want to care for children.
Yes. Women have more of that emotional factor. I actually did an episode where we discussed the roles of masculinity and femininity, and I feel like more often than not I'm coming across women, and this is not to bash men, women, anybody, whatever, but I come across so often women who want to flourish in their femininity. They want to go through their soft era, but they're, as you said, they're finding themselves with feminine men, which is not a problem. But when you want to flourish in your femininity, you have to allow and accept a man in his masculinity in order to step out of your masculine phase. If you want to be able to be soft, be, everything that traditional gender roles tell us that women need to be in order to be feminine, you have to accept the fact that you need that, like I said, that yin to your yang. It balances each other out.
Let's push it even further. Let's make sure we piss people off here.
Okay.
Men are supposed to follow. Men are supposed to lead. Women are supposed to follow.
Absolutely.
But this to most women is outrageous because they cannot fathom the fact that men are supposed to lead. Yet, as we explained, men are more logical. Do you want somebody that leads based on emotion?
Absolutely.
Or you want somebody that leads based on fact, to say, this is where we're headed, this is where we're going to go, this is how we're going to get there, and however I feel about it does not matter because this is the logical way to go.
Right.
So if a man is supposed to be stoic to enable his woman to be feminine, it makes sense that logically he leads. Not because a woman can't lead. A woman can lead all she wants, in the same way as a woman can have a corporate job and lead men. But one thing is for sure, if she wants to be happy in her personal life with a husband, when she gets home, she removes that masculine energy and she allows her men to be masculine.
Thank you. Absolutely.
I had a podcast with a woman. I'm so happy that women are starting to approach me with this, because normally they won't. But she approached me, and that's what we talked about. And she was explaining how she just got divorced. She had been with her husband for 18 to 20 years. She literally just signed the paperwork. And she admitted, and we made, it was almost a counseling episode, me towards her. And she admitted that she messed up. That for 18 years, she did not allow her husband to be masculine. Every time he was trying to lead, she challenged. Every time he was trying to provide for her, she challenged. Every time he wanted to be a protector, she challenged.
Yep.
So she basically castrated her husband to a point where he gave up.
Yes.
And this is what happened to men now in marriages. Women say, my man does not provide, my man is not enough for me. Because you know that thing to say that women date up and men date down? So women are always looking for something that's higher than themselves.
Hmm.
Why? Because they feel that somebody that's higher, that makes more money, that can protect them, will lead. This is
Yep.
just psychology there. This is just,
Yes.
and the worst part is women don't like this, but yet that's what they look for. 95% of women compete for the top 5% of men. Why? Because they're protectors, they can provide and they can protect them.
Yes, exactly. And I love how you mentioned, you know, men are supposed to lead, but you'd had this conversation with a woman who admitted that she challenged and
Yep.
and I feel like I can relate to that so hard because I've been doing my own thing for so long, my career,
Hmm.
my personal life, everything. So it's like when I do come across a man who is capable of leading, because let's be honest, not all women are capable of following because that's just in their nature to challenge, and not all men are capable of leading. But I feel like when we are in our masculine energy, we're so comfortable with it and we almost don't know how to drop that guard, if that makes sense. Because every time I've come across a man who is perfectly capable of leading and I know that, I challenge him. But then at the same time, I'm like, I'm the dominant one when it comes to my career. I'm in charge. I have to do all this. I'm it's masculine energy. But when I am done with work and I'm done with everything that I need to do, I just want someone to lead, to take control, to tell me
Hmm.
this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, this is where we're going to go, this is how we're going to get there. I don't want to have to be in the driver's seat at all times in my life. I'm already doing it in my professional life. I don't want to have to do it in my personal life. And I think that's where so many people get it twisted. Like that's what they want. They truly do want that, but they don't understand that they need to allow a man, if that's their choice, if men is their choice, they need to allow him to lead and to be his own masculine self.
They're not self-aware. This is the biggest problem that
Yes.
so the biggest problem in society is a lack of accountability. You can break down any
Mhm.
single problem out there to somebody that did not want to do their job. And
Yes.
accountability only starts when you become self-aware, when you start realizing that, oof, I could be a lot better than I am. I've been a bad person in my life. I've hurt a lot of people. I was a thief. I was a drug dealer. I was an addict. And I'm talking about myself here. This is when
Same.
things kind of clicked, is when I realized I was really not a good person. I was selfish. And this is the biggest problem, right? When it comes to people, we don't want to admit that we're wrong. We don't want to admit that we've done problems. We're very prideful,
Hmm.
and yet, how can we expect to be in a relationship if you never allow your husband to be a man?
That part.
And push it even further, because this is something that women don't ever consider. So half of marriages, just under 50% of marriages end up in divorce.
Hmm.
70 to 90% of divorces, depending on the education level of the woman, are initiated by women. 70% if they're a high school graduate, 90% if they're college/university graduates. So the
Wow.
more educated the woman is, the more chances your divorce is going to end up in your wedding is going to end up in a divorce.
Wow.
90% of the cases, women get the children.
Mhm.
So if you look at a man like me, for example, I'm top 5% of men.
Okay.
What is the attraction to me to get married when I
And,
know this? Because I believe in marriage? Not really. My parents were divorced when I was 14 years old, so to me it doesn't mean anything.
mhm.
But I'm a Christian, so I do believe in I owe it to my girlfriend. We're gonna get married, but
Okay.
it's not because I want to. I'm gonna do it because it means something to her. Her parents have been married for 45 years.
Wow.
She's first generation Italian, like immigrant Italian. So to
Okay.
her, it is the way it is, and
Huge
totally
deal.
totally understand that.
Mhm.
That's to make her happy, and it makes sense, no problem.
Right.
But we met late in life. I'm 41 years old.
Yes.
She's 30. We're in an RV, right? She's not far, so I'm not going to say her age. I
For
just
sure.
looked if she was there. But let's just
Don't
say
get in trouble.
she's in her 30s. No, it's out of
Okay.
respect, right?
For sure.
And but we met later in life. But how many women have I known in my life, and this is the first one that I can say that embraces her femininity to a point where she expects me to be a man. Because that's another problem. As much as we can tell that women need to allow their men to be masculine, we need to be masculine too. You know, there's this. I don't know if you ever heard of the expression "the passport bros."
Yes.
So men going outside of the country to go to the Eastern European bloc or to the Philippines or to
Yep.
other countries where women are more traditional.
Yes.
And this makes me laugh because most of the men that I've seen talking about that are not masculine.
At all.
That woman from the Eastern European bloc, she expects a man.
Hmm.
She expects a leader. She doesn't want a little boy.
Right.
So you can get a woman that's very feminine. I guarantee you, brother, she won't stay with you long. Because if you expect her to take care of you, you better take care of her in the way that she expected that her father taught her that a man should behave.
Yes.
So this is a double-edged sword, right? This is why I do what I do. This is why I want men to embrace their masculinity, because that way women can embrace their femininity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so necessary for both parts and pieces to kind of know their spot on the board and be able to, I don't want to say play it because then it just sounds like a game, but to know their role and to play their part to their best abilities, because it's almost like without one the other crumbles. You can't necessarily have that. It all comes down to balance. It really does. So I completely get what you're saying. And coming from someone who, my parents were never married at all.
Mhm.
So I grew up like, oh, that'd be beautiful to have a wedding and but I've never really seriously considered it for myself
Mhm.
because I never saw I never had a male to look up to that was a man that did the providing, protecting, things of that
Mhm.
nature. And I feel like so many women who grew up without a father figure in their life kind of have that same, it's kind of that same cycle. We don't know what to expect. We don't know what it is we're necessarily looking for because we've never actually seen it in living color. We've never seen it. So I greatly appreciate this episode and being able to open people's eyes to what that is and what that means. Um,
But before, hold on. You just said something that I love to say to men.
uh-oh.
If the first time when you're on a date for the first time with a woman, on your first date with
Mhm.
a particular woman, the first question you should ask her is to describe her fondest memory of her father.
Okay.
Because if that woman reacts very negatively to the question, she becomes extremely emotional, she becomes belligerent. However, she reacts in a negative way, I tell men to pay the bill and get out of there. Because
Okay.
this is a woman that has never made peace with her past. Because
Yes.
think about it this way: women's first masculine love is their father.
Mm-hmm.
If they had a great father, that's phenomenal. The story that she's going to tell you is going to be great. She deserves you to sit down and give her a chance because she has a healthy view of what a man is. But
Okay.
a woman that's never dealt with her past, that's never dealt with her father, you don't choose your parents, but
Right.
you choose to make peace with it.
Exactly.
There's work that needs to get done. You don't choose the cards you're dealt, but you choose the way you want to play them.
Exactly.
And if that woman has never done the work and she has a very negative view of men, she'll never be ready for a relationship with a man until she deals with it. And the same is true for men. Like
Yeah.
as a woman, first time the first date with a guy, ask him to describe his relationship with his mother,
Yes.
because I don't have a good relationship with my mother. Like I come from a single family. My mother had to play the masculine and the feminine. So what do you
Okay.
think happened? She didn't do either correctly.
Right.
She couldn't be a mother, she couldn't be a father. I didn't respect her as a father, but she was still flip-flopping between the two. So
Mm,
how you know how multitasking work? It doesn't.
yes.
For 96% of people, multitasking does not work. You
The
either
ball
one
always
or
gets
the
dropped.
exactly. So if you're always flip-flopping between the two, you're never really in your role that you're supposed to be into. So I've struggled with relationships my whole life because I was never babied by my mother when I was young. Like kids need affection from their mother.
Yep.
They need to feel love. They need the embrace. They need the physical touch. And this is something that it's extremely feminine in nature. This is why women need to be close to their kids, especially when they're young.
Yes.
Because they need that affection. It comes, this is, again, that goes back to the emotional intelligence I was talking about earlier.
Yes.
So to this day, this is something that I struggle with.
Okay.
I do the work. I know the way that I am. My girlfriend is fully aware of the way that I am. But for the longest time, I did not understand this. All my relationship was never there because I was never taught to be emotional with somebody. My sister's the same. If I look at my sister's extremely masculine in her energy.
Okay.
She does not have good relationship with people, especially with men. She's always had problems, and most of her men are extremely feminine.
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
Which
but
makes sense.
it's interesting because same mother, father left, very similar effect on both a man and a woman.
Yes.
It's interesting how that works. That's why women out there, you can ask the same question. Describe the relationship with their mother. And if it's bad, if it's really bad, get out of there.
Exactly.
Let it pay the bill and get out of there.
Yes, exactly. I feel like there's too many people in general. I won't just say men or women, but there's too many people in general who want to state that they're healed, that they've come to terms with their past, they've come to terms with their negative relationships, things of that nature, but they haven't really put in the work. And until you put in the work, you're not truly healed. You can't just say, you know what, I'm cool with it, it happened, whatever. You actually have to put in work to heal those parts, those broken parts that you're trying to give away. Because if you're just, you wouldn't go to somebody's birthday party and hand them a broken vase. You wouldn't do that. You'd want to make sure that you have something complete and whole to give to that person. And I feel like too many people are, I don't know if they're in fear of doing that work or if they're just not self-aware or what the case may be, but I feel like that's a genuine problem, at least in my interactions with other people and myself as well. I've definitely been that person for sure. So
because I don't think you heal. I don't believe that you heal. You ever really heal.
Right.
Because even a surgery, I've broken a lot of bones in my life. I've had multiple surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
Do they heal? Do they ever heal 100%?
No.
It's arguable. There's always something left after it. It's never the same.
Exactly.
So does healing really happen, or do you just learn to live with it and to make peace with, Jordan Peterson, a doctor that most women absolutely hate, explains that if you don't think about your past, if you don't remember your past, that's because you made peace with it.
Okay.
So your brain, because for the longest, I have a very bad memory. For things, I have great memory. But for when it comes to what I've done, it's when I see pictures, I see videos, I'm like, oh, that's true. We did that.
Yes.
I completely forgot. And I've always wondered throughout my life, I'm like, why is it that way? And then I saw a video of Dr. Peterson, and that's what he was explaining. He's like, if you have problems with your memory, it's not necessarily you have problems with your memory, is that you have your brain, it's not required to be there. You've learned from it. You took what you had to learn. You made peace with it. You move on. People that are always thinking about the past have not made peace with it.
Right. Good point. Excellent.
Psychology is extraordinary when you start. It's a vortex of information that will suck you in. It's a black hole of information.
It is.
It's very interesting.
It is. I loved psychology and all of that once I got past Psychology 101 when I took it in school. Once you get past the basics and the bare minimum stuff that you need to know, it's like, all right, let's get to the good stuff. Let's figure out the whys and hows and all of that. Where can my audience find more of your work and follow you, keep up with your journey, etc.?
NicoLagan.com, all my stuff, all the interviews I do, all my book is there. Everything's on there. But on social media, I'm on 8 different social media at Real Nico Lagan, so you can find me somewhere.
Perfect.
I'm on every single platform.
Perfect. Sorry, I'm trying not to get photo bombed by a kitten here. And
It was too late. You showed
I,
us that you were a cat woman.
I
It
know,
was
I
right behind
know.
you.
Anyways, and what kind of advice, tips, guidance, anything of that nature do you have to leave our audiences with today?
You know, I'm writing my second book right now. It's on the 5 virtues of a good man, what a man needs to become a good man. And
Okay.
I am writing this book. This is going to be interesting. I haven't said that out loud yet, but I'm writing this book for single mothers
Wow.
because there's a lot of books that teach men how to become men,
Right.
but there's no books that teaches women what it takes for a boy to become a man, because women cannot teach a boy how to become a man.
Thank you.
Men needs Boys need to be around more men that will teach them what it is to be a man.
Exactly.
In the same way that a father cannot teach his daughter how to become a woman, but he can choose to have great women that he believes are good women around his daughter so that she can emulate them. And so it's no different. It's even worse for boys. Because
Oh,
if you look
certainly.
throughout history, the rise of passages for boys, so the book is going to be targeted at single mothers because they represent 33 to 40% of boys right now are being raised without their fathers in the household.
Oh my goodness. That is incredible. And I know so many people are going to appreciate that because, as you said, you can't, you know, a single woman can't teach a boy to be a man, and a man can't teach a girl to be a woman. That's not how it works. But you can be the best example for what they're going to look for in their future
That's your
partners.
job. That's your job as a parent, to make sure
Exactly.
that your son understands what a good woman is so that he can
Exactly.
look for it. That it's a lot easier not to have to heal from something if you can just be taught properly from the get-go. It's a
Yes.
lot less work, that's for sure.
Yes, 100%. Well, Nico, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a pleasure, and I genuinely hope we pissed a lot of people off. So I want to thank you again for joining us. And to my audience members, men, women, and unladies alike, you already know what it is. I love y'all fiercely.